or Sarah at risk. So I actually bought these long before anything else. I mean, before this whole thing broke. Well,
yeah, well, I'm way ahead of both of you because I've had this for years.
Okay, let's see. Yes, Bonnie. Perfect. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Ferris, we're gonna.
I know this looks weird, but I'm having a chest pain, so I'm doing this to get rid of it.
Okay, and I'm going to let you. Or do you want me to? Well, no, you have to Facebook.
Yeah, I'll get it started here. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we still have folks coming in. I'm sorry for the short notice.
Can you start recording?
Oh, don't need to apologize, Cindy. It's, you know, if people are meant to be here, they'll be here.
Yeah, I just have been back and forth. I'm at a point in my grieving where I just don't know when I'm going to just break down crying. So I haven't reached out because I just, you know, it's unexpected. It just hits you all of a sudden. And so anyways.
Are you grieving for your the loss of your father? Or, okay.
Yeah. Yes. And it was absolutely a godsend that he's not here. And what surprised me is when the grief slammed into me. Bonnie, I never expected that to be that deep because, you know, as you know, I've been talking to his oversoul and saying it was okay to go. You know, he didn't need to stay here. His karmic debt is paid. I don't know why he had to suffer so much. And, you know, I really had that strong feeling that it was time for him to move on. And yet the grief just slammed into me like I never felt in my life.
You know,
yeah. I lost my mother in December, early December, after, well, I was with her since my father died in 2015. And of course, she was 101.
Yeah.
And so, you know, at that age, you expect, and she was declining, although she wasn't bedridden until the last month, really. But it's been so difficult. I have the same, all of a sudden it overcomes me and I'm surprised because of course she was 101.
Yeah.
And so,
we're getting some feedback.
You know, yeah. Is it mine or?
I'm not sure. Well, I think, are we okay now?
No, it was mine. Sorry.
Oh, it was yours. Okay.
From Facebook.
Okay. Well, everybody, I just want to say welcome and thank you for joining us. And as I was explaining just a moment ago, you know, even though you know that a person, it's time for them to move on, and you're talking to their oversoul and you're asking them to let go, that there's no reason to suffer anymore, the grief that you feel can just slam into you. And it just took me off guard. I just wasn't expecting it at this level. And as you know, I loved my dad dearly, not only as a dad, but as a mentor in my life. And you know, he taught us how to live and how to die, and how to die with dignity. And he got to do it his way. And he always said, if you guys will never let me out of here, to sneak out the back door. And that's pretty much the way it happened. He kind of snuck out the back door because we wouldn't have let him go. And if any of you saw the video that I created, at the end, you can see where I actually recorded my dad, and I've got a video of this too, of him saying to my granddaughter, Sarah, his great-grand, that he would stick around until she was, her baby was born. And Katie was born on the 11th, and my dad checked out on the 12th. So he saw her picture that afternoon. We couldn't get in because of the coronavirus. Everything was on lockdown, so nobody could get in to see my dad. So my aunt stood outside the door and went or outside the window and went like this so he could see it, and then showed him the pictures. And it took a little bit for him to register it, but finally he did. And so he saw our pictures, and then a few hours later, he was gone. So he kept his promise. And he also slipped out the back door because nobody could even get in to see him. He wasn't answering his iPad. The nurses, when the nurses tried to set it up, he just didn't want to do with it. And I think it's because he didn't want anybody to talk him out of it. So if that all makes sense to everybody. And he went very fast and very peacefully. I mean, she pretty much turned around, turned back, he was gone. It was that quick. So that, and then everything that's going on. And I've been thinking about you and sending all of you love and light continuously through this whole thing. And I've been wanting to reach out every day. And again, I've been on this emotional roller coaster. And then Sarah, having a new great grand as well. And she sends pictures, and you see within a 24-hour period the cycle of life. I see, my great granddaughter come in, and the next day my dad go out. And you've got all of this emotion on top of everything that's going on in the country, and it can be really overwhelming. So we've got to stick together as a community. We've got to be here for each other. And I thought, why not just plan a way to get together? If it's every day, every couple of days, I'm going to leave it all up to you, but I really want to know what everybody's going through and how you're keeping yourself sane through all this. So if you have something to share, I'd like for you just, you can just raise your hand, unmute everybody, because I really want to hear from everyone.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Andrew?
Yeah, I just muted myself so it keeps the volume down. But I can speak about grief. Grief is it's been different every time someone's passed away. And actually, I've had like 5 people that I've known pass away since the beginning of February till this past week. And one of them, it was a relative who I just connected with a couple of years ago in St. Louis. And her passing really affected me in a little ways. But also last week was the anniversary of when my aunt passed away 6 years ago, and her death really affected me. She died, and because I was flying over to come see her. I was living in Switzerland at that time, and it took at least 4 months. It was April, May, about 4 months before I can actually finally come out of the grieving process. So I think grief comes, for everyone, it's different. So just honor your feelings, Cindy. Just, let it, don't hold on to it. Just let it come when it comes, and just breathe as you know what to do. Just breathe and give love and light, and just, just be grateful that you had such a great man in your life. And I'm sure that he would want you to carry on, but also to honor your feelings of grief, because it's not easy when someone passes away. And, I don't think it's talked about a lot. There's a few subjects that's not talked about grief. I think suicide is another one, and suicide is actually a topic that I'm working on talking about. I'm actually I've been writing a speech and slowly working on writing a book on suicide. And there's no shame in talking about it. And I honor you for bringing up that this is what I'm going through. I'm going through the grieving process and allowing the community to be there of support.
Well, thank you. And thank you for the work on suicide. I heard today that from our representative, there were 8 suicides in our area yesterday. Yesterday. Wow. And they are more rural communities where people are feeling desperate. They're out of work, they can't feed their family, and people are choosing to check out. And so what you are doing is so important and so timely right now, Andrew. So thank you. Thank you for that. And, you know, one of the things that really got me with my dad is he was alone. I was actually in Portland with Sarah. She had just given birth to Katie. And so I wasn't there, and I felt awful about that. And then my sister, she had to see Dad outside the window, and he barely recognized her. That was right after, you know, when they were showing Katie's pictures, and it took him a while. And she said, and she's the closest to Dad. And she said at that time, if he's no longer going to recognize me, then I got to let him go. So there were two things that helped him to move on. But still, the thinking about someone dying alone without their family is big. And look at all the people that are having to, I mean, they've got people around them, yes, and they have their guides, and they have, you know, they have the God of their understanding, and the ascended masters. They are surrounded by love and light, but they don't have their physical family with them. And I feel for all of the people having just gone through that. I really understand their grief in what they are feeling about their loved ones being, you know, by themselves without family to hold their hand and comfort them as they transition.
Do you have Kleenex with you? A box of Kleenex and water?
Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure, because if not, I could say, Ferris, take over and let Cindy get some Kleenex and water, because it's important to have that around you.
Yeah, and I've got my tea. So I want to continue on this topic of grief for just a little bit, because right now people are not only grieving people and for the people who have lost their lives during this whole thing, or family members, but also we are grieving a lifestyle. There's a big shift going on in this country. And what are you feeling? I mean, that alone, like I said, the suicide rate is up. That's why we must be here. And if somebody that, and by the way, the councilman that called is actually a Republican. I'm actually an independent, but he reached across the aisle, or well, midway, I guess. But for him to reach out, just, that's what we've got to do. This whole party line thing's got to go, and we need to be there for each other. And I decided if he can do that, then I certainly can bring our community together to be together.
Diane Breutman, what you got? Can you unmute yourself?
The phone.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. I was like playing with this for like the whole time. I could figure out if I can get through. I have been trying to reach you before I even found out today that you lost your father, and I'm so sorry. And I did send you another email and didn't realize when I did send it that you were going through that. So if you get a chance after this, I would love for you to read it. And I'm ready to help the planet on a big way.
Yeah.
And I want us to come together. If you can call me and come together, I have some great ideas that are going to help worldwide, to help just by sharing what you're doing, but inspirationally different things. And I have a big list of stuff. So if you feel called to calling me, I want to have that conversation with you, okay? Just to see if we can create bigger. And I'm doing okay. You know, I've got my two precious dogs with me, which you'll see as attached to my email. And I just want to let you know that I have been, you know, spiritual for a long time, and I really see the bigger picture. Even though I've lost all my family members to horrible diseases, and including a 48-year-old sister who had an 11-year-old son. She wanted to hang on for his birthday. So I know pain, and I've known loss, and I know where you're at, and I'm so sorry, but I do know that, you know, we are going to be together again, and it's never going to leave you. He's always going to be with you, and you will start feeling him as soon as you start grieving it out and just ask him to come in your dreams. My dad comes in my dreams, and I feel like I'm having 8 hours of time with him. It's just beautiful. So it's all out there for us. And he's going to be helping you on the other side to attain a lot more than he's helping on this side now, right? He's going to be helping in every way.
Making himself known, Diane.
Yep.
Everybody, he has from shortly after his transition. I was with Sarah, and she started dilating early, and they called her a magical unicorn because she was dilated 5 and no pain. And then by the time I got there, she was 6.5, still no pain. And so she walked around dilated 6.5 for quite a while, and finally they broke her water, and ultimately they ended up having to do a C-section. But because she had a C-section, she really needed me more than ever. And I was staying up all night long because she was on pain medication, and she was, she was really out of it, and she kept falling asleep with the baby. They do skin to skin time, and she kept falling asleep, and she was afraid. So I'd stay awake, make sure that I could grab the baby. And then I put her in her little crib, and I just watch her sleep. And then one time in the middle of the night, I could sense my dad's presence, and I started seeing dimes everywhere. And at first I didn't make that connection, but I saw dimes all over the place, and they kept showing up. And then when my husband got there, he said, I don't know why, but I keep finding dimes. So I'm finding out all the family members are finding dimes. But anyways, Katie is sound asleep, and she looks so peaceful. And then I said, Dad, are you here? And then all of a sudden,
he was.
Butterfly kisses.
Yeah.
And her eyes flicker. And I said, okay, Dad, I want to know that. And I don't say it out loud. I'm saying it to myself because Sarah's sleeping. And I'm saying it, I just said, okay, show me in a very definitive way that you're here, because I have questions for you. And just before he passed, one of our last conversations was around the time that it snowed here. And he said, I want to see a good snow. I want to see the big fluffy snowflakes, and he wanted some snow. And I had left the room to go to the other side of the hospital, and I was talking to my cousin who just found out that Dad had passed. I was calling all the family members. And I went to the other side of the hospital. I'm, just standing there looking out the window of the waiting room. And Sarah texted me and said, look at that snow. And I'm looking out the window going, what snow? It's raining. And I texted her back, and I said, sorry, Richard, I've got to text Sarah back. She's saying it's snowing, but I'm watching the rain. And she wrote back, no, it's snowing. So I got done with my call, walked back to the room, and looked out the window, and it's snowing on that side of the building.
Yeah. Didn't take him long to figure out how to do all that.
And the nurses came in and said, we haven't seen snow here in years.
Because he didn't have a powerful man that knew how to create it for his daughter.
And then the nurse said, oh, look, a dime.
Oh my gosh. Well, you're going to become a millionaire probably finding a dime every 5 feet.
It's been crazy.
I want to give you an energetic hug from here, since I can't do it there. But my love is with you, and I've learned, so much by being on these online classes. But the most I have understood about things like this is that we as a consciousness had to create this in order to come back together, because it wasn't working the way it was before. We were heading down.
Yeah.
And I really believe that this is a time that we came here to be prepared for, to help others to wake up and find the heaven within and find the kind of world we really want to live in. The Chinese people finally, in one section of China just passed the rules about not eating, the dogs and cats in one of those areas there. That's the biggest thing that's ever happened on our planet since I've been around, that they've gone completely opposite direction of what they've been doing. And they're still fighting for the Yulin Festival not to be there. And if anyone doesn't know about that, look that up. But basically, I really believe that we're coming together for a higher purpose, and I think that everybody here is getting a time to go within. If they didn't have the time, they have it now. And it's almost like we're being forced to do it, but we're not. We've actually created this. We've come to a consciousness that now we're creating what our new canvas is that we want to have as our world. I really believe that.
And
So,
I'm with you. And one of the things that I want to talk about today, and by the way, I want to hear from everyone today,
yes.
if you will, and some of the predictions that I've had that have come to pass. Now, some of you, if you're on the calls, like with BJ and different calls, you've already heard some of these things, some of the things that I've seen and said. And my intuition is, or psychic ability, whatever you want to call it, is on overdrive. And it's been going on for quite some time. So there are a lot of things that I want to share, and I'm going to share those things in just a moment. By the way, the last thing that I wanted to say is about the dimes. My aunt, who was with my dad every single day, is finding silver dimes every time. Every time they are silver. Like mine are, they have the copper in it, but my aunt that was with him every time, they are silver. So she's got a whole collection of silver dimes now. And if you look at his date, 3/12/2020, it adds up to 10. The number 10 in numerology, the 1, and this is for all of us. I believe this is for all of us. It is a message. The 1 is new beginnings. The 0 is the Alpha and Omega. And that reduces down to, Dad's telling me it's a new beginning. He is now whole. You know, and for those of you who have heard his story, he was paralyzed on one side, leg amputated all the way up to his hip on the other side. So he had one hand that he's been working with for the last few years. He had a hand and a sharp mind and a wit like you wouldn't believe. Funny man. and love, pure love and light. So I'm looking at that, and I keep saying, Dad, because when you have signs, when you are getting divine signs like this, when you get it, when you say, okay, I've got it, then you will stop seeing, you know, the 444, the 333, the 11, the 11th, whatever it is. Once you finally become aware of what it is that you're being told. Well, I said, Dad, do I have this? Is it because this is when you pass and it's your new beginning? Well, I keep getting dimes. And I'm like, okay, I've got to look at this as, okay, is the country, is this a new beginning for all of us? And today is the first time, since I said that this morning, is the first day that I haven't seen dimes. So we'll see if that continues. And if I've received that message. For any of you who are getting any kind of divine messages, then once you get it, usually that stops so that they let you know that's clear. Does that make sense? So I'll talk in just a moment about the predictions. First, I want to hear from each of you. And Marianne?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, I have you're blowing me away with this whole thing, but I get the waves of grief. I understand that from my brother passing like a year and a half ago, and I had never felt that before because I kind of was shut down. So, and I'm like, oh my God, like it would just come over me out of the blue. And I worked with him every day at work, so he wasn't at work anymore, and it was very hard. And my nephew took his place, and so it was a little bit hard because I had, I couldn't get away from it. And but it was such a good, it was like a good feeling to be able to feel that, because all the time, like when my mother passed away 40 something years ago, I was so shut down that I didn't even tell friends that she died. So
wow.
To feel that wave of grief was just unbelievable for me. And I would just take myself to the bathroom and let myself feel it. And I didn't care what was going on with my boss, not my boss, my nephew, but the one that I work with, who's kind of like shut down on her own a little bit, didn't want to talk about Michael at all. And I was like, I would just take myself to the bathroom and feel the waves of grief. And it felt so good because I had never done that before. It's so I kind of understand what you're saying because I never experienced that kind of grief, even when my father passed 7 years ago and I was with him, and that was kind of, interesting. But I just wanted to say something about this whole virus thing. My second cousin just passed away of the virus. She was the first one in our city, and she was very, very extremely vigilant in the city. She worked on the school board, and she was well known, and like within hours of her dying, it was all over on Facebook, and there were 300 shares and 300 likes and 100 and something shares. I mean, it went fast and furious. And I felt so bad this morning because I drove by where the funeral is, and I just happened to be driving by because I haven't been out for days, and I just took my daughter to the shop, grocery store, and I went by it, and I was like, oh my God, there's our whole family, like their immediate family, which is like 20 or 30 people. And they were just in little pod groups of families, like you could tell which family was with who, and they were standing far apart from each other. And it was heart-wrenching to drive by and not be able to swing into the parking lot and say, oh my God, I just want to give you guys a hug. It was heart-wrenching. I felt so bad. And I was like, I know that I can't go in there because other family members have the virus. It's just, you can't do it. And it was really, it took me back. But I was like, wow.
We did a virtual celebration of life for Dad, which seems to me, when we were on doing it seemed really appropriate because my dad kept trying to get out of here. He's
Right.
trying to cross that Rainbow Bridge, and he never made it all the way across. He kept coming back.
Wow.
So
Wow.
we have had 3 planned celebrations of life, and he attended all 3.
Oh,
And
wow.
he attended the fourth one virtually.
Oh my God.
So
Wow.
he was at all 4 of them. So
Wow.
I said, and the reason I know that is because during our celebration of life, there was this little pink bear, if anybody's seen the video that I created for Dad, and it lit up. And to exercise his hand, I got it for him for Valentine's Day, and he would squeeze it and it would light up, and he used to play and dance with it. I mean, he was really a funny guy. So he loved this little pink bear. During the call, now this thing hasn't worked. He put it in the drawer because it stopped working a little over a year ago. And my husband kept picking it up. I had it with all his things, and he kept picking it up and squeezing it, and it didn't work anymore. And I set it up behind me when we were, when we had the celebration of life. And somebody, I don't know if I brought it up or if somebody else did. So I reached over and I grabbed it, and it lit up.
And it lit up. Oh my gosh.
And
wow.
So I said,
love
okay,
that.
Dad's here virtually.
Thank you. I love the signs. Oh my God. I love the dimes. I love the signs. That's so cool that it lit right up.
Yep. It lit up, and
Definitely.
it hasn't lit up in a year. And my sister just about lost it. She said, that thing hasn't worked in a year. Said, I know.
And he's up there laughing, going, I'm doing this.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. That's very cool. The signs are what keep me going. I'll tell you, just being hemmed in, I felt like I wasn't going to get any signs. And every time I go out, I see something, I get something from my mother, my father, my brother, somebody. Even in that little span of time that I'm out, like 10 minutes, I'm like there, I see something. So like you said, the money, the dimes, the pennies, my father had a soda company. So if I see a soda truck, and it's like like this morning I was out 10 minutes, I saw the Pepsi truck, the Coca-Cola truck, like right around the funeral there. And I was like, okay, Dad, I know you're here. I know you're watching over Sue, and I know that she died. There was a reason she died, and to really put it out there, and like she had a purpose and a mission kind of, and it's just, wow. And I just saw her a month ago which was odd. I haven't seen her in a long time, and I saw her like a month ago. So just the way that it all works is pretty cool when you put the puzzle pieces together. It's
It does,
pretty
it
cool, but
gives you comfort, doesn't it, Mary?
yeah, it really is. So thank you for putting this on. I just happened to go on my emails. I was like, oh my God, this is cool. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad you
And
caught it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was a last minute thing. I just said, let's do this. And I tried a couple nights ago and then I had a bad night and I kept trying and I just said,
I'm doing it.
gotta do it. And we've got to be here for each other.
Well, I have to tell you the other piece of it that gives me a little comfort is, it's going to sound odd, I know. My husband had his little sister die when he was 6 years old and she was 2. And her birthday is actually March 12th.
Wow.
So she would have been like 60 this year. Or 60, I don't know, whatever it was, 60, 62. Yeah, 60, I think. So anyway, whatever. And it just struck me when I saw that he died March 12th. And you were talking about the 12 and the 10 and the numbers, because I like numbers too. I'm big on that. And I understand what you say about seeing them and then you don't see them anymore because you got the message.
Yeah.
I get that. So it's kind of like I feel like a new beginning for him. He can finally, we can do this, because I feel like I've been hearing from her too. And it's just very interesting and cool. So that's another little thing. Not that it's good that your father went. Well, it is, but it's not.
It is.
But you know what I mean?
It was good because I've been talking to his oversight.
Right.
I said, Dad, this is going to get bumpy.
Right.
And
Right.
you need to let go. You need to let go. You don't have to stay here for us. And I kept saying that because.
But he saw the baby come in. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, thank you.
And we actually talked to him while she was in labor. We talked to him and he did get to see her
that's
on the
so
iPad.
nice.
So, you know.
That's really cool. I love that. It's great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Marianne.
Who else would like to share? Buddy?
You know, we're learning how adaptable we can be.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes being adaptable can be just mean doing nothing, which really seems counterintuitive.
A few things through this whole thing that they're starting to see evidence of that I think is really interesting, which is, you know, we haven't been paying enough attention to our world, caring for Mother Earth and all of the climate change and everything. And since people have been, you know, staying in place, they've been at home, they've seen some shifts very fast. Mm-hmm. And when I saw that, I was like, whoa, is that a message from the universe?
Yeah.
You know, you don't create the change and we will. The other thing that I understand is that the viral issues that we've had, all this hate and division and anger amongst people fighting about, you know, if you're Republican or Democrat and, you know, the threats, I just can't believe it sometimes, the things that I see. Well, that viral became a virus. It became physical. It came into the physical. And to me, we called it in as a people. Because there's so much, not just in the United States, there's division all over the place. And it's mm-hmm. like it has multiplied. And the thing about a virus, it's an equalizer. It's a great equalizer. Doesn't care what, if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, black, white, orange, purple, you know, what nationality you are, if you're rich or poor, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. It's an equalizer. And if that isn't a message, then we're not paying attention. We've got to pay attention to these things. And I was told a very long time ago, in fact, I was 10 years old, when I first saw what I thought was a war. And I saw all these people on cots on the ground, or maybe they were laying on the ground. I don't remember for sure, but I do know that I was there and I was handing out green blankets. And everything just looked like there was a war. And I was only 10 years old, and I asked my cousin, or told her about it. Her name's Monica. And she said, "You're describing the apocalypse." And I said, "What's that?" She said, "It's in the Bible." And I said, "Oh, you read the Bible? I'm Catholic. You're not supposed to do that." You're supposed to, if the white Bible sits on the mantle, and if it falls off, you kiss it and put back. But we weren't supposed to ever read it. But I remember I went and got it, and I made my first little altar at 10 years old in my closet. And I remember starting to, lift up the pages and think, am I going to go to hell if I open this? Only the priest was supposed to interpret it. That was during my era. That was a long time ago. And at least in our church, we weren't supposed to read it. And last year, I started telling Ferris and Gary, we're about to see a lot of deaths. And I know that on BJ's calls, I have said that we're about to see a lot of deaths. And I thought it was going to be a civil type war because so many people were fighting each other. And that's what I thought it was. And then when this whole thing started, I said, Gary, I kept saying, Gary, there's about to be a bunch of deaths. And I kept saying in January, we need to sell our house right now, right this minute. We need to sell it now. And Ferris, did I tell you that too? I think I told you too. And we need to sell it now or it's going to be too late. And Gary said, we can't, we got this. I said, but it just feels imperative, like we've got to sell our house now or we're going to be staying here. And I said, all these predictions were coming through all at once. And I said, 222, something significant about 222, and this was beginning of February. And I said, 222, I don't know what's going on in 222, but something significant about 222. And he said, well, I'm going to track it this time and I'm going to put it on the calendar. So he put significant day on the calendar so that he would remember. And then the day of that evening, he looked at that and he said, so what significant happened today? He said, I didn't see anything significant. And it was after we went out and bought a lottery ticket. Because I said, when I said 222, I said, let's put it on the, let's play those numbers on the lottery. So we did. And we didn't win that night. And he said, so what was so significant? And I said, we won't know right now, but we will. And when I was putting the video together for my dad, I looked at the last picture we took together on 222. And I just broke down crying because after that, when you have the coronavirus, often you get the flu either just before or just after. And it makes you more vulnerable if you've had one or the other. That's what I found out since I've had the coronavirus. And I'd gone to visit Dad and everybody there was sick. I ended up getting the flu. Then they were on lockdown. I couldn't see him again. Then he went to the hospital. Then Sarah called and I had to fly down to Portland. So I never got to see him again. And the last day that I saw him was 222. And I said, is that the complete message? And the way that when I have the right message, things fit. For those of you who are very intuitive or psychic, you know what I mean? Where when you have the message right, when the message is complete, everything fits together nice and tight. It's not tight. So there's something else we are still to learn about 222. I also am seeing the clouds parting. I see the clouds parting, and there's going to be, and I know that the president said this, it's going to miraculous. Well, there is something miraculous that's going to happen where it's going to end. And I don't know if it's everywhere in the country or if it's in our area, and I'm asking for clarity on that. and it is going to end, but it is going to come back. And we can, everything that we do now will determine how bad that is. So we must stay in place. We must stop getting together, or it's going to come back with a vengeance in the fall. And I see that very clearly, but it is going to stop. So we have everything, even though I had this vision when I was a kid, and I'm seeing this now, I'm watching this in the news and I'm going, oh my God, that's what I saw. I had this early. That makes me, as soon as they can test my antibodies, for the antibodies, that makes me a good volunteer. So am I going to be handing out blankets? You better believe I'll be on the front line if I can. And I've been calling everybody to give plasma. You know, who can, and you know who called me back? New York. New York called me. That's who called, not our local government, New York. It was crazy. But I said, I am here. I am ready. I can be a soldier. You know, maybe I can boil water. I can hand out blankets. You tell me what to do. I saw this when I was 10 years old. This is what I'm supposed to do. And I'm going to be immune. How this happened was in December, I had, on the 23rd of December, I had a Tdap shot because I was going to be in the birthing room with my granddaughter. So you have to have the shot before they allow you in there. It's their new thing. And my arm swelled up. I couldn't lift my arm. Some of you might remember me talking about it. And my husband and I and my sister-in-law went to Universal Studios in Florida. And we were there with, it's their busiest time of the year. It's their absolute busiest season. So we went there for our anniversary. His sister went. And when I was there, you know, I couldn't hardly lift my arm, and it was feeling awful, and it would bubble up and it would bleed. It was really bad. The pain was ginormous. And by the last day we were there, on the 31st, I started feeling bad. And then by the 1st, I get to the airport and collapse on the floor. And you can't even wake me up. And Gary told the airline that I wasn't sick, that I had a reaction to a shot. Otherwise, I would have never got on the plane because I was so bad. And I had just this awful, it started with an awful headache, sore throat, and just overwhelming fatigue. And what had happened was when I got it, I know right when I got it, I was going around handing my phone to everybody. Take our picture. And we were getting everybody else's. There were people from all over the world. And we were getting ready we wanted our pictures taken on Hagrid's motorcycle. We're big Harry Potter geeks. And so there was this Asian couple that came up, and they didn't speak English, but they offered the phone, and they went like this. And it was one of those moments that I stopped for a second, and I looked at them, and I looked at Gary, and he just kind of gave me this puzzled look, because I've been grabbing people's phones all day long and taking pictures for them. But it was just one of those moments, and I hesitated, and then finally I thought, I'm being rude, and I took the phone. And then I handed him our phone, and we took each other's pictures. That's when I picked it up. I know that's when it was, because it was just that quick little, something's wrong here. So anyways, I'm at the airport. I make it home. Gary had to go to Louisiana. I flew home. And my dad, of course, is in a nursing home. So I didn't go visit him during that time. Well, I couldn't get off the couch for, what was it, Ferris, a week? At least. I couldn't even get off the couch. Yeah. And the cough, the fever, I had a fever. I had a cough that I felt like I was going to cough up a lung. My lungs hurt so bad. It felt like somebody was sitting on my chest, and I couldn't breathe. And I kept calling my doctor, and I said, I thought it was a bad reaction to the shot. And I kept calling and I said, what is going on? She said, I've never heard of such a thing. I've never heard of anybody having such a bad reaction to a shot like this. The swelling of the arm, the pain in the arm, yes, but not sometimes a low-grade fever, but not a fever like that, not the cough, not the headache, but I had no postnasal drip. And so they said, they told me it was not the flu. This is not the flu. You have no postnasal drip. This is not the flu. And I would call her every few days and say, I'm not recovering. What is going on? She said, but I don't know what it is. It must be a reaction. I've never seen anybody with this kind of reaction. Of course, you know, some people just have worse reactions than others. So it took me 3 weeks to recover from that. And it took me up until a week ago or so for the coughing to stop. Mm-hmm. And what happens to the lungs is you've got some inflammation. It causes some, what is it called, Ferris? The striads or something like that inside the lungs where it closes down. That's what kind of chokes you off. And for people that have any lung issues, I can't think of the name of it. People with lung issues already, like if you're a smoker, if you have asthma, if you have any kind of problem that can close down and you basically suffocate and you can get pneumonia. So that's where most people die. Remember, I am a runner, and I know the only reason I am alive today is because I am a runner. And I had this I have huge lung capacity. And as soon as I could, I started doing deep breathing exercises. And there is an exercise, yoga exercise that you can do, breathing, where you close off the nostril. I don't know if anybody does this. You close off the nostril part way and you breathe in all the way into the lower lungs. There's 5 lobes of the lungs, and you breathe all the way down. And I knew I had to do these, and I forgot about the whole part of this until I saw Dr. Diard. I sent it to Ferris the other day, and I said, I couldn't remember the rest of the story, but this was the reason that I needed to do those exercises, those deep breathing exercises to expand my lungs. And if you do, because your lungs, your capacity to breathe deeply diminishes as you get older. And that's why older population will actually die off quicker than younger, because most people will, when you're younger, you're running, you're playing. Well, people that are sedentary breathe from the upper lobes and not the lower lobes. And so we have to open up those lower lobes. And the first time my dad appeared to me, well, Mom and Dad appeared together, which surprised me. But before that, my cat appeared to me, Band-Aid. Band-Aid was my cat that I got after my car wreck. And I had him for 17, almost 18 years, and he helped me heal. And one morning, he wakes me up, and I've never seen him since he died, other than him 10 feet tall in the cul-de-sac, telling me that was the last time I saw him. And I used to see him after he disappeared in the cul-de-sac, but he was always 10 feet tall. It's the first time that it ever appeared to me as his small cat self. And he was next to my bed, and I could hear, "Ow, ow, ow, ow." Cindy, you know this. You know how this works for all the cat people out there, and he wakes me up. And that was his meow when I needed something, when I needed healing. And I could hear him. And then the next thing I know, Mom and Dad are sitting together. And I said, "Y'all are together?" Because they had gotten a divorce after 50 years of marriage. And they said, and I said that I didn't know if you guys would get together or not. And they said, "It was our contract. This whole journey was our contract." So yeah, of course, we love each other. I'm like, okay, I get that. And Band-Aid being there, I knew that it was up to me to heal me and to let other people know how they can heal their own bodies, and which will help them if you do get it. And each one of us need to do these breathing exercises in order to expand our rib cage, expand our lung capacity. And I want to do another one where we can have more people on the line and we can get everybody together. So if we can, I will, if we can do it tomorrow, that would be great. Is anybody, what time are you available tomorrow?
Any suggestions?
Anybody? And then we'll go through the whole thing. I don't want to take up too much of everybody's time, but I just feel like it's imperative for us to come together and do these deep breathing exercises and make sure that we continue, because I do believe, again, I've never been that sick where you couldn't even rouse me.
And for those that have suggestions, you can hit the reply in the email and you know, after you think about it a little bit and let us know your thoughts.
I would like to do it in the morning if we can, like at 9 or 10 in the morning. If I'm probably 10, because that would be early for anybody that's coming in on the Pacific coast.
10 whose time?
It's Central. That would be 11 o'clock Eastern. Would that be okay with everybody? Just raise your hand if that's okay. All right, and we'll go through the full exercise to expand your lungs. And my kitty there, he was a Band-Aid. That's what he was for. And he guided me on how to care for myself the whole time that I was recovering after my car wreck. And I knew that's what it was, that the message. So, so I want to help everybody in that way as well. The recovery, by the way, since then, I've had reduced lung capacity, but I have been doing the exercises. I have been walking. I'm up to 2 miles now, and I still get exhausted more easily than normal. I mean, you know, I do distance running. So, you know, I'm trained to do half marathon. So 13 miles. And to be able to not even be able to go down the block was really weird for me. And now I'm up to 2 miles. So I know that we can do this. Walking is important. Even if it's around your house, if you don't get out or if you don't feel safe getting out, do it around your house. Do these deep breathing exercises. So questions? Yeah.
Karen, go ahead.
Hey, thank you.
Hi, Karen.
Could you record it? I do have a professional meeting tomorrow morning,
Yes.
so I won't
it
be
will
able
be.
to attend.
Yes, we will record it.
Okay, that would be wonderful.
And I'm going to go back to John Diard's recording and just get the pertinent information. He does a whole 20 minutes, which will include 2, but there's a lot more behind it than a lot of people really want to know. So I just want to record the exercise and then the really pertinent information that I'll record for everybody, so I can just, you know, make it into a 5-minute thing.
Okay, and maybe we could have the link to his. I subscribe to his newsletters, so
Great.
That'd be wonderful if you could send the link.
Yeah, yep, we will put that in there as well, so everybody can see it. And again, you know, I just feel like I'm getting guided one thing to the other, and I realize I'm supposed to be here for a reason. And my reason is that I'm supposed to go and volunteer because people are going to need it.
Oh,
But I do see light. I do see the clouds parting is how I'm seeing it in my vision. And we are going to see the light. But if we don't do anything about it, if we don't act, because there is free will, and as long as we take that and take this into our own hands, we will see the other side of this. And it won't come back as badly this fall. I'm a whole health educator, and I got a message, which was weird in all the years that I've been a whole health educator. I've never had Harvard contact me and say, this is a mandatory call. And I'm like, me? Why would you? I'm a whole health educator. I just give information to people. I don't treat people. I'm to inform people. And I thought it was unusual to get something like that. Well, their whole thing was, this is about to get bad. And as health educators, if they so much as sneeze, you send them to the hospital. You send them to wherever they're testing for COVID-19. And so that's what they were calling us for, but they gave so much really valuable information. I was able to sit in on it. A lot of the science I don't understand, but a lot of it, I do. But few things that they said that I'll share real quick. This is a third hand right here. Your phone is a third hand, and you treat it like a third hand. So don't just wash these. What was I doing when I was at Disney? I was handing my phone to everybody, or not Disney, Universal. I was handing my phone to everybody. So treat this like a third hand. Do not blow your family kisses.
Unless it's at a distance.
Yeah. They said don't.
If they're 50 feet away, it's okay to blow them a kiss.
Yeah. So don't be blowing kisses. Let me see, what are some of the other things? Oh, this is for me because I used to be a makeup artist. Ladies, if you wear mascara, and guys, if you wear mascara too, if you wear mascara, if you've been sick at all, throw it away, because that's a test tube. And I would tell people during cold and flu season, if you've been sick at all, if you even have the sniffles, you throw it away and get new, or don't wear any, makeup during that time. I haven't been wearing makeup that much during this whole thing for that very reason. So throw that away. There's a lot of things that I've been trying to compile that's different than what other people are telling folks. A mask does not protect your eyes. And the ophthalmologist that first discovered this, that died, he passed it on through people's eyes. So when you've got a mask on, it doesn't protect your eyes. Putting your phone up here, it's right there by your eyes. And then you rub your eyes or whatever, and you're passing it on. So, we've got to be cautious.
And did you see Bonnie's comment here?
Oh, I did not. Tomorrow, 444. Ha ha ha. Okay. There are a lot of meditations all day. So
everybody is, everybody who's ever thought of being a spiritual leader is having a meditation.
Wow.
Just in case nobody else is.
Yeah, just in case. Be sure. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a big event. Yeah, it's a big event, actually. Bigger than just that.
Right.
There's a big realization that's supposed to come in, and I can't remember what it is, but it's very, very big.
444, that means someone in heaven is looking out for you.
Yes.
That's what it is. The divine is looking out for you. It adds up to what number, everybody? 12.
Well,
the number
okay.
12, which reduces down to 3, which is the Trinity.
Right.
So there's a lot of reasons. Anybody else know what else that is? The 444. Number 4, by the way, this is a 4-year. And 4 is stability. It's the 4 seasons. It's the 4 directions. It's the 4 elements. So what I am seeing, and I keep getting, and this is really amazing to me, I'm spiritual, but I still, I've always read the Bible. I used to be a big Bible thumper a long time ago. And one of the things that got me interested in numerology is actually the Bible. And I was born the 3rd month, so the Trinity always meant a lot to me. But also 7 was a favorite number because I was born 357, 357. And 7 is connecting heaven and earth. The number of the beast, which always confused me because that never felt evil. But the number of the beast, 666. So there's all of those numbers that are throughout. And one of the numbers, of course, is the number 4. So this is, this has been talked about for a long time. What did Jesus do? He went into the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, so we're seeing these number 4, the number 4 in a big way. And this is a 4-year. So 2020 is a 4-year. So yeah, it's a big day on a lot of levels tomorrow. So should we do it, Bonnie, do you think sooner than later in the morning? Or because I want to do the deep breathing, and there's also a meditation that I want to lead everyone into as well tomorrow.
Oh, well, I'll be there whenever, but I just, want to say that.
Yeah.
How long do you think it'll last? An hour or more?
Not more than an hour.
Not more
than an hour.
Okay.
And
All right,
probably not even that long.
Yeah, I don't even think that long, because the meditation is, I think I've talked about this on the calls, the world viewing room that I keep getting sent to. I'll talk about the world viewing room that I keep getting sent to, and have been since, how long has it been, Ferris, that this has been going on? It's been going on for quite a while.
Yeah.
Keep getting sent to and kicked out of the world viewing room, because you can't be there if you're judgmental. And if I'm feeling judgmental, I get kicked out. So there's been many days that I cannot even get into the world viewing room. And so we all have to not be judgmental. And this is about calming our judgment. And so tomorrow morning, I'll do that. I'll do that meditation, and then we will do the deep breathing exercises. I'm thinking, not more than 45 minutes.
Okay. Will that be on Zoom then?
Yes.
Yeah,
we'll
send the link out.
Yeah, and 10 Central Time feels good to me. And then that'll be 11 if you're on Eastern. And then 2 hours, that'll be 8 o'clock Pacific.
And we will record it.
Yeah, and it'll be recorded.
Great.
So I'll have that for everybody. I'll have the link to John Diard, and great exercises. He gives all of the science behind it. And again, I'll just compact it for everybody, and then we'll be able to all do it together. And what else? Any other concerns or shares that you have of something that we all would love to know?
We need more guys.
We need more guys.
We got Andrew and me, and Larry is joining us on Facebook. The good thing is we're covering the globe. Andrew's in Toronto, Larry's in New Zealand, and I'm in Tennessee.
There you go.
So at least we're spread thin.
I'm in Montreal.
Are ya?
Montreal?
Yeah.
I figured from the 1300 you must be at least not in the U.S. because we still cling to the 1 through 12.
Yeah.
I love it up there. I did the half marathon there year before last.
The situation is not as bad in Quebec as, well, it's bad compared to other Canadian provinces, but we've had 61 deaths, so out of 8 million people, so it's not that big. But
Wow.
we have 1 out of 4 nursing home that has at least 1 case.
Mm.
So they've been closed since mid-March.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not altogether sure that my dad didn't have it. He was in a hospital where we got notice. When I was in Portland, they called to let me know that there were 6 positive cases, and that's just the ones that they tested at the hospital that he was in. And by, what was it, Ferris? 2 days later, there were 12. And we don't know who they all came in contact with, but they did they were required to call all the families and let them know that they were in the hospital. And they said, we had it contained. We don't know if anybody came in contact. So they don't know.
So yours happened a bit earlier before it really became full blown,
right,
in the U.S.
Yeah,
before we even knew.
Before anybody knew. And it was the number one thing that convinced my doctor was I went to Universal Studio where there were people from around the world. So I came in contact with people from all over. And that was one of the early criterias, if you remember.
Yeah.
And
right.
I was in contact with all kinds of people, and the rides, when you ride the rides, you're hanging on, you're filing one after another, getting on these rides. So, you're sharing germs everywhere you go. So how many people left there and went all over the world spreading it?
That makes sense.
It just makes such sense. And, when she called me, when the nurse practitioner called me back, she said, this is the only thing that makes sense. Because I bought some Mucinex because I thought I was going to need it, and I never needed it. I gave it to my aunt who did have a runny nose, but I never had a runny nose, and I thought that was weird. I also thought it was weird because I made bone broth and I couldn't smell it. And I'm like,
okay.
What's that beautiful smell that where's that beautiful smell? I couldn't smell it. And then I had some essential oils going, and I kept adding drops because I couldn't smell it. And it didn't dawn on me until I saw that later, that you lose your sense of smell. And then I'm like, no wonder, because I'm like, my bone broth doesn't smell as good as it usually does. I can't even, nothing tastes good, just, and I couldn't have anything but liquids. I couldn't tolerate food. It would just go right through me, which is weird for me. I have a really stubborn system usually, and for things to go through me, something's wrong.
Yeah.
So.
And of course, they hadn't even gotten tests by that time.
Right. I mean, there was no test, and they wouldn't have known.
Right.
So there were probably a lot of people like me, but I was really, really, really sick. And I don't even hardly remember January. I'd get up for a day. I did some recordings. I did, that was towards the end of the month, wasn't it? I did bone broth and elderberry, and once I did that, I was out for 3 days after that. I was just out. I couldn't function anymore. It's very exhausting.
And your husband never?
He got it mild. He just got a sore throat. That's all. And my sister-in-law, she got it 2 weeks later. She was out for 3 weeks.
Oh, wow. Gosh.
And she said she started going out for walks, and all of a sudden the cough disappeared. Well, she was breathing deep. She said, I just had to make myself go out and walk. And she's up in Iowa. And she said, and I just started going out for walking, and all of a sudden it stopped. The coughing stopped. She says it was just sudden, like I opened up my lungs. Well, that's exactly it. So yeah, she got sick too.
So is she going to get tested? Or is Gary?
I don't know if they've got it up in Iowa yet. And she lives with her mom, but fortunately she's like me, where she just isolated herself that whole time. And I just kept myself away from everybody because, I don't want, my whole thing was, I don't want Dad to get it. That was my thinking. So, or even my aunt, and she didn't even come in the living room because I couldn't make it up the steps. I couldn't get upstairs. I couldn't breathe. And even when I went down to see my grandbaby, and I never put all this together, it was like a puzzle, putting it together with my doctor. I would sing to the baby, and I go, 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indians, 4 little 5, because I couldn't sing. And I sing. So it was like, I can't even breathe to sing. This is crazy. And then, more and more information started coming out about all of it.
Mm.
So you can survive it. One of your key things, because none of the drugs yet are proven. There's all kinds of misinformation. Harvard set us clear on that too. And they're continuing. In fact, I just got another email I saw popped in. They've been, it's really nice because I get updates from them because I was a student at the National Institute of Whole Health, which was continuing ed program from Harvard. And so they send me all these wonderful emails. And I love getting these updates and knowing what's accurate. Because I just got another on Facebook where this doctor or this guy, I don't know if he's a doctor or not, saying that, you know, there's these two, what drugs are they, Ferris? The name's escaped.
The chlorhexidine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the other one. There's two of them.
I just watched CDs
The one that starts with an R?
today.
Erythromycin, is that it?
No.
No, it's yeah, I can't think of it.
I've got it written
down or not.
At the time that everybody started circulating this, only 20 people had been tested with mixed results. Now they've got a wider study that they're doing with it, but it's not widespread and there's not consistent results from it. Some people respond and some people don't. But everybody that I've talked to that have had it responds to the breathing, responds to Tylenol, responds to rest, you know, just sleep, give in to the sleep. So
yeah, I was hearing today, I attended a CDC one for training. I'm a social worker, so they were saying
right on the
that,
front line too. That's great.
well, yeah, we're kind of on hold right now. We're still trying to figure out telemental health and all of that, but yeah, we're hoping to be able to get into action here remotely soon. But yeah, they were saying what you're saying about the acetaminophen or Tylenol, but apparently ibuprofen sometimes accentuates the symptoms. They were saying, so that was good to know.
And that might have been my problem because the doctor, when I had the fever, she was having me rotate ibuprofen and acetaminophen.
Okay.
Because the pain in my body was so bad. I mean, I just hurt every frickin' where. And so she said, take the Tylenol for the body aches and pain, and then the ibuprofen for the fever or the infection, or I don't remember a lot of what she said. Fortunately, I recorded everything. I got to go back and listen to the recordings because I didn't remember anything. I mean, I just like my brain was gone during that time. I was really out of it.
Yeah, understandably. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for all this great information.
Well, I just, and again, everything happens for a reason. We almost didn't go to Universal Studios because we had a flood just before that. We had a flood in our house. So we're thinking, oh my gosh, with this flood, should we go? But Ferris and Gary and I, especially Ferris and Gary, got it cleaned up enough where we could go. And again, my whole thing is in that vision, I was helping out. When I was 10 years old, in that vision, I was a volunteer. And the first thing I thought after this, you know, whole thing is, oh my gosh, I can volunteer. That means I'm immune. Are you still hearing that, Karen? The last meeting I heard was they are saying people are immune if the antibodies are high enough.
Yeah, he didn't really talk too much about the antibodies today.
Okay.
But that's encouraging.
If you have a mild case like my husband did, he might not have enough antibodies where his, if at all, where he would be beneficial to give plasma. You have to have the right levels of antibodies. There's two levels apparently, and it is the second level that you have to have. And I was pretty sick, so I should have pretty high antibodies. Yeah. And so should Karen. His sister should be able to also.
Yeah, and you can really help that way. And provide some of that much needed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll come if I can. My meeting, actually, when you said Central Time, my meeting will end right at 11 Eastern, so I may just be able to hop right from one to the other. I will come in person if I can, so thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. I hope everybody can make it tomorrow, and we'll put that together. And today was more, I just wanted to organize this, and it feels important that we do this tomorrow. And I forgot that it was 444. I actually forgot it. It just felt right. And I always go with my feelings because they're always accurate. They have been since I was a kid. And so I trust that. And here we go. Makes sense. Any other comments or anything that anybody wants to make? Ferris, you want to open up the...
In the meditation, are we going to do a bit where we spend a few seconds with the world, sort of like a energy to the world, and just to give them the energy, well, you know what I mean.
Yes. Yes, and we're going to do it from the World Viewing Room.
Okay.
The World Viewing Room, I started having, what was the date that the general was killed? That's when that whole journey started. Do you remember?
That was January 3rd. Very memorable.
You really remember that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just the way the New Year's started, it was just incredible. I mean, yeah.
That's why I put this angel up here, because she is
Beautiful.
the angel of the world. So I wanted to put, she's looking out over the world, and that's been down in my other studio, and I brought it back upstairs and said, right now we need to have that. And I started having these visions, and I'll talk about all that, but I ended up ultimately in the World Viewing Room. And every time I go in, I have to do a meditation in order to stay, because I was very judgmental about all that situation. I was judgmental. I've been pretty judgmental about a lot of things, and it's hard not to be. But we must view all of this from an understanding that this is the divine at work. And as Diane was saying, earlier, there's a lot of, I mean, this is absolutely meant to be, and either it can work for us or against us, but we have to put in our minds what we want to happen, not what we don't want to happen. And everybody's fast to say, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. And as long as we stay focused on what we don't want, that's what we're going to attract. So we have to attract what we do want, and be very clear on that. And that's what I'm learning through all these, going to the World Viewing Room. So, and Marielle's saying unified global meditation and prayer. So that would be at 1 o'clock?
Eastern.
Eastern? Okay. So I'll look that up too, because I want to be attending these all day. I'm going to be in the garden, but no better place to do these than while I'm out working in my garden, and I can just kind of sit and be still. Touching the earth is very important right now. Getting really grounded, going out and getting your feet dirty if it's warm where you are, and really connecting with Mother Earth feels really, really important. So, Ferris, you want to go ahead and open up?
Time to say goodnight, Gracie.
Yeah.
And
I thank all of you for being here.
pretty much got everybody unmuted.
Okay. Julie's not unmuted.
No, sometimes people have to unmute themselves because it will not let me do it, and I don't know why that is.
Well, thank you all, and let's all say together, I love you. I love you.
I love you, everybody.
Thank you. I love you, Cindy.
Good night.
Thank you, Cindy.
See you tomorrow
you.
sometime.
Yes,
Thank
we
you,
will.
Ferris. Yeah, everybody. See you then.
Oh,
Have a wonderful evening.
put on your bandana.
Oh, bandana. Hey.
Yep.